Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. I'm going to do our May the 6th spiritual principle a day in a meditation. I hope you're doing well out there. It's good to be with you this morning. I'm excited. I'm excited about my life. I'm excited about my recovery. And I hope you are also excited. I need to get to the screen, so give me just 1 second to pull that up. A bit underprepared, okay? So give me just a second and I will have it ready for you. Okay, May 6th, let's get into that. The title of the May 6th meditation, let's see, is entitled The Discernment Dimmer Switch. The Discernment Dimmer Switch sounds interesting. It says, discernment comes from heart experience, trusting people we shouldn't, being hurt, and coming back anyway. That comes from the Living Clean book, chapter 5, Friendship. Addicts seem especially prone to being all or nothing people. We either know or have been the kind of people who flip between manipulation and brutal honesty, who exercise 8 days a week or not at all, or who have love-hate relationships with everything and everybody. One member described their approach to relationships this way: either I'm all in or you're all dead to me. Suspicion, cynicism, and self-reliance were survival skills. It doesn't take much clean time for us to realize this dark and fearful view of the world won't serve our recovery well. Hope for a better life creeps up on us, crowding out our previously dark outlook. Some of us even adopt an uncharacteristically sunny disposition as the renowned pink cloud colors our entire approach to life for a time. Not to knock this glorious phase of early recovery or those lucky enough to experience it, but blind optimism carries its own risk. We can trust NA with saving our lives without entrusting every member with all of our secrets. It's important to modulate our openness, discerning the difference between sharing at group level, confiding in a friend, and bearing our soul in a fifth step. Of course, some of our best lessons come from our mistakes. This is where discernment comes in. Discernment introduces us to the brake pedal so that we don't have to lurch between extremes. Tapping the brakes on our thinking and behavior allows us to practice good judgment instead of impulsiveness. Discernment turns a toggle switch into a dial. Instead of binary choices like trust or don't trust, we discern the useful territory between poles. We discern not just right from wrong, but also right from almost right. Discernment helps us make better choices and learn from experience. We'll still get things wrong, but we take the time to discern a better approach and try again. Do I toggle switches for some of my emotions or behaviors that should be converted to dials? How can a discernment dimmer switch tone down some of my excesses? Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you, God. Grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Well, family, it's so good to be with you this morning. It's good to be able to read this meditation. As I was reading this meditation, my mind kept thinking, stay awake, girl, stay awake. I've heard of sleeping, falling asleep with your eyes closed, but never falling asleep while reading. Yeah, so in all seriousness, thinking about this meditation and thinking about how extreme I have been in my life. And I'll tell you, let me say this, because I do believe having this discernment switch and learning how to dial it down or up is an important thing for an individual to learn. And the main reason it is because we are people that go to extremes. We're all in or all out. We love you or we hate you. We don't have a lot of gray space, right? The gray space that we have comes in our own interpretation of how we look to other people, right? We got a lot of gray space there. We have a lot of tolerance for our BS there, don't we? Right? Okay, so that usually is the most of it. But when it comes to having discernment and being able to balance when to use it, how to use it, did I know about that? I didn't know anything about that. I came into Narcotics Anonymous with a chip on my shoulder because I had been given the desperation through agony. And when I got here, I was not interested in a whole lot of conversation about God, your God, higher power, none of that, because I was very angry with God at that time. And if you were a person that wanted to have that kind of conversation, right, I would remind you that I don't have to have that kind of conversation with you. Go talk to somebody else. I'm not here to be converted to your religion. Oh man, I got spirituality and religiosity confused deeply. My second world convention, well, no, my first one, my first world convention was actually in Chicago in 1993 with 5 days clean. The workshop that ripped me wide open, that cracked my hard heart, was the workshop on spirituality versus religiosity. I should have known. I should have known. I should have known, but I did not know that that was going to be a very big issue. I should have known by my action, right? I've shared with many of you how I reacted, but wow, I didn't get discernment until some years later. I mean, I had to over discernment. I used it, I manipulated it. I made it more like suspicion, cynicism, right? I made it more something that I could use against the person. Yeah. Oh no, I read people well, honey. Oh, I can read you like a book. Or I saw you coming a mile down the road. I saw you coming. I see you. I can remember just using it so arrogantly, like to let people know I'm not interested in being bothered with you. So let me use this big term that I thought all spiritual religious people use. Let me use it in that light and discern that you're full of it. You know what? If I had been able to dial that in and use it properly, I probably would have more friends today. I heard a lot of people, and I owe Narcotics Anonymous a living amends, which I do participate in doing that on a regular basis, every chance I actually can, right? I'm so glad we're having this conversation because that kind of sounds like me doing service, which triggered to my memory. I'm supposed to share today at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm supposed to share today, right? And that's part of my living amends. That is part of it. And so if I had had discernment, I would have been able to discern that the person was actually hurting, trying to save their behind, and grasping for straws, just like I was, right? That the mask had not completely been taken off. Mine was hit by a Mack truck. I'll tell you, my mask came crash. There was no way to piece it back together again. When I finally got rid of my mask, right? When I finally got rid of it, I had a few years clean. And so discernment is something that we value. That's why it's here in this meditation, right? The title of the meditation, A Spiritual Principle a Day. Right? And so we're considering the spiritual principle of discernment and how we misuse it and need to dim it, use that switch, dial it down, and position it in a way that is helpful, congruent with our recovery, right? It's very important to do. Honestly, most days I can apply it very well. But if I got a chip on my shoulder, I got a matter that I haven't dealt with, honestly, right? I can still try to tap into discernment and use it as a shield to keep me away from people, right? So I have to be very careful when I start getting into being judgmental and calling it discernment. I have to be very careful, right? Because interacting with people on a deep level is not my first instinct. It's something that I learned to do. I had to stop saying I know to everything when someone was giving me information, because in reality, I didn't know, right? But I was trying to use a shield to stop people from getting too close to me. And I practiced balancing discernment, being humble, surrendering. I practice all of those on a daily basis. And I'm hoping you do too, right? I know I'm sharing my experience, Strength. What about you, right? How have you misused discernment? And how do you intend to further develop it, right? Develop it. You have to do that because it makes your life better. I was going to just share this one thing about not having it balanced and why a person would lean into manipulating it. And it just comes back down to being afraid, having fear of the unknown, using discernment as a weapon instead of a beautiful tool to further develop one's recovery. Listen, folks, I need to get going. I want for you to have a beautiful day on purpose. I know you can do it with discernment in mind. Use balance. Use balance with it and practice. I don't see a thing wrong with learning how to practice it. I don't see a thing wrong, right? And some people think when I talk about practice, they're thinking I'm talking about football practice. Now I'm talking about something that most people benefit from, but they don't necessarily see you doing it because it's an inside job. Balancing discernment is an inside job. It's checking those automatic negative thoughts that you have about yourself and others, internally being able to check yourself. It's an inside job. Other people benefit, but that is practice from within. So go play discernment football within today and score the touchdown, because I know you can do it. Have a beautiful day on purpose. I'll be talking to you tomorrow.